Mindful Living podcast. I'm your host, Sana, and let me ask you something. What if there was a garden and a fruit tree in every yard? What if the solution to food insecurity, climate anxiety, and even loneliness was as close as your own backyard? Well, today on the Mindful Living, we dig into a conversation that is both radically simple and profoundly transformative. Now, imagine building resilience right at your doorstep, not just for yourself, but for your entire community. And my guest is someone who lives this truth. Listeners, meet my guest, Greg Peterson. Now, Greg is the founder of urbanfarm.org, a pioneer in regenerative urban farming and a seed sovereignty advocate who believes that growing your own food and saving your own seeds may be one of the most revolutionary acts in today's broken food system. We are going to explore why local food and especially local seed saving matters more than ever and how you can be part of the solution no matter where you live. So let's quickly get into this interesting conversation. So Greg, welcome to the show and it is an extreme honor having you with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I always love talking about growing your own food.
Absolutely. It is so empowering in its own way. So let's start with the big picture, Greg. What do you mean when you say we have a broken food system? And what is the first step to fixing it?
All right. So, a broken food system really starts with something called food miles. Food miles is the amount of food miles is the amount of miles that our food travels from where it is raised to where it's consumed. And do you have any idea how many miles our food travels on
Not,
average?
not exactly. I don't have the number, but I'm aware about this concept that maybe because in my country in India we have, for example, the north has mostly vegetables or the rice or the grains and also it all travels like almost you know 500 or 300 kilometers more than that. I don't have the exact number, but I'm aware about it. So I would love to know from you, Fred.
So in the United States, it's
Mhm.
1,500 miles. That is 2,400 kilometers.
Goodness.
Yeah. And so this is just the beginning of our food challenges.
Mhm.
And what happens is when they're picking food and having it travel that far, they're needing to harvest that food before it's ripe. And a peach on a tree that's not ripe isn't fully nutrient dense. And the next step is they harvest it, and the moment they harvest it, it starts breaking down nutritionally. So when you're shipping food that far, the nutritional value declines pretty quickly. So that's one big problem. The next big problem with our food systems is called highly processed food.
Yeah.
Highly processed food are potato chips and soda pops and things that is really in a box. So
Ca-
any
mm,
Go ahead.
yeah, canned or packaged foods, ready-made foods.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And quite often, these highly processed foods also have chemicals in them that are not good for our health.
Yes.
So those are the two big challenges we have with our food system. There's many more. There's genetically modified stuff that's coming out. There's chemicals. There's hybridized wheats that aren't hybridized for our health. They're hybridized for production, which aren't good for our health. So there's so many things that are going against us in our current food system that we have to pay attention to.
Absolutely. I mean, if I can, what I understand from this is number one, there's a huge imbalance in the demand and supply. Then, of course, there are so many logistical challenges out there. Then, of course, if I speak with the context of my country, specifically after green revolution, although it helped us increase the yield of crops, however right now I have seen in so many studies that the vegetables or the fruits we are consuming, they are either highly rampant with pesticides and insecticides just to meet with the demand. So
Yeah.
that's really, really, I think it's practical. It's the reality of the food industry.
Yeah. And I believe that the solution for our global food problems are
Mm,
growing food in our front and backyards, whether you're in an urban area, a
mm.
suburban area, out in the country. We can grow so much of our own food. Last year, I harvested 40 pounds of potatoes,
Mm.
which got us through the year.
Wow. Wow.
And yeah, that's something I'd not ever done. I'd never raised potatoes before, so
Mhm.
I'm going for 80 pounds this year.
That's like 18 kgs, 40 pounds, and now it's 80 pounds or 36 kgs of potatoes. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's brilliant, Craig. And it's really wild how in this entire hustle and bustle, as we are so much into this ultra fast lifestyle, it's wild how disconnected we have become from what nourishes us. And I was just thinking about how most people, including myself at times, we trust a grocery store more than the soil beneath our feet. So
yeah.
that justifies the need for this.
Yes, absolutely, and it's really so easy to grow our own food. The most expensive thing to buy in the grocery store and the easiest thing to grow are herbs. Grow your own basil
Yeah,
and cilantro. These things you can grow in a sunny windowsill.
lovely, lovely. So, Greg, you have created an old growth good forest in a 1/4 acre lot with 80 fruit trees, and that is incredible. I would love to understand what exactly is this old growth food forest, and also if you can share what that transformation taught you about working with nature instead of against it.
Oh, nice. Thank you for that question. So an old growth food forest is a place where you can go and without doing much work at all, you harvest food.
Yeah.
And it takes some planning up front. The old growth food forest that I created was 32 years old. And at any given moment,
Mhm.
pretty much every month of the year, there was 5 to 25 things that I could go out and harvest it from my landscape in the middle of Phoenix, Arizona.
Wow.
And one of the key features of the old growth food forest is the kind of seeds that I use.
Yeah.
I use what's called an open pollinated seed. These aren't hybridized, they're not GMO, they're open pollinated, or heirloom is another name for them. And basically, when they go to seed, they the plant that grows is true to what the seed that was planted. So what I started doing 30 years ago was planting open pollinated seeds and lettuce, cilantro, basil. These are all things that I would let grow through the season, and then I would let them go to seed and spread those seeds around the landscape. Then the next year, those plants reseed themselves and make a new plant without me having to plant it, or in many cases nurture it. It just would grow there. So it's kind of like a wild food forest. A friend of mine was a few decades ago was in the South Pacific, and they anchored at an island looking for a grocery store, and the people on the island said, well, just go pick your own. So, right? It's that concept that food just grows in our landscape. And it takes a little bit to get started,
Mhm.
but once you're done with the startup, it just magically happens. About 3 years ago, I moved from Phoenix, Arizona to Asheville, North Carolina. That's 1,900 miles different, and we started planting our gardens the moment we got here. And so in 3 years, we're coming up on 3 years this month. In 3 years, I have growing in my garden beds that I didn't plant this year: lettuce, cilantro, basil, oregano,
Oh.
um, kale. There's a few other things that just strawberries for sure. They come back year after year. And with a little bit of planning,
Mhm.
it's a super simple process.
Mm, that sounds so interesting. So you have got the herbs, you have got fruits, you have got the leafy vegetables all sorted out.
And
And that
that's
as well.
and that's just 3 years in. Imagine what it's gonna be like in 6 years or 12 years when I have a lot of the other infrastructure in. I've got, 160 fruit trees that I planted a year and a half ago that they won't produce this year, but next year I'll start getting production on the fruit trees. So, it takes a little longer with fruit trees than it does with basil, but
Mhm.
if you put those structures in place, it really does work, and it's something called permaculture. Are you familiar with permaculture?
I'm afraid I'm not. Greg, I would love to know.
Yeah, permaculture, it's, uh, uh, 2 words put together, permanent and culture, or permanent and agriculture.
Yeah.
Permaculture, I like to call permaculture the art and science of working with nature. How do we work in the flow of nature rather than against nature? And you do that by paying attention to what's going on around you, observing, and in big part, planting open pollinated seeds.
Mm, interesting, interesting, Greg. So how exactly does this translate into urban spaces, cities, where I guess the supermarket culture is more prominent. Some might say that food is abundant in supermarkets. We get the organic stuff and all, and it's just more efficient and easy for me to rely on industrial agriculture. So, what would you say to someone who feels overwhelmed by the idea of growing their own, especially in the urban context?
Yeah, well, urban contexts are actually a little easier, and start small. Remember I said the easiest thing to grow and the most expensive thing to buy is herbs?
Mm-hmm.
Plant yourself a basil plant. We bought one at the grocery store the other day, an organic basil plant, and it still had its roots on. It had been grown hydroponically, so we harvested basil on the top and we up potted it into a little bit bigger pot. And we've already got, and this was a week and a half ago, and we've already got new growth, and it is sitting in a 2-cup size pot in a sunny windowsill, and it is growing like mad. So I suggest that people start small, start easy, pick something you love, and and go there.
Mm, absolutely. Makes sense. I guess I will definitely look into this, Greg. This really has piqued my interest into be self-sufficient kind of. So thank you for sharing that. And now let's talk about seeds. So you are also on a mission to infuse tons of garden seeds into the local economy. Why is this so urgent, and what is this local seed economy really?
Yeah. So let's step back just a bit. Let's call it a food economy. And we have a food economy in every city, every small town of this planet, and it's the economy by which people purchase, trade, and consume food. And it's in place. It's a process of growing, harvesting, transporting, um, upgrading, making products, and then consuming the food and then disposing what's left over. That is the food economy. And about 15 years ago, I developed a model called the local food economy that
Mhm.
looks at 7 different components of a local food system so that when all 7 of those pieces are in place, that we have a sustainable and regenerative local food system. And that's like farmers and education and culture, and there's 7 parts to it. And in my world, one of the most important parts is the seed economy,
Mhm.
because without local seeds, we can't grow local food. And we saw this happen when COVID hit in 2020. All of the seed companies in the United States ran out of seeds. And it turned out about 15 years ago, I was looking at where do we get seeds at? And big box stores and a few local nurseries were about the only places that we could get seeds. So I decided to put a program in place with some partners where we would super energize our local seed economy. And we started a program called Seed Up in a Box. And it is designed to infuse communities with a lot of seeds that are growable for your area. They're mostly vegetable seeds, some pollinators,
Mhm.
and basically it's bulk seeds at pricing that will blow your socks off. It's really reasonably priced and bulk, and then with a design to package these seeds and get them out to your friends. You can use them as gifts. You can use them for community gardens, and it's called Seed Up in a Box. Uh, and you can find it at seedupinabox.com. And like you said, it's a program to super energize our local seeds so that we have seeds so that we can grow local food.
Well, that's such a poetic idea, Greg. I mean, planting local seeds literally and metaphorically. I think
Uh,
it almost feels like an act of healing, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. And I'll tell you what. So this started 10, 11 years ago in Phoenix, Arizona, where we put out 100 different varieties of seeds in a room and had a scoop your own seed bazaar. And that was amazingly healing and fun. The energy in the room when people were scooping seeds is it's just magical.
Yeah. Wow. That is so great. So inspiring, Greg. So
Thank you.
before we wrap up, let's talk about inspiring the next generation as well. So in this age of convenience or instant gratification, or in like we call it as a quick commerce where you get instantly all everything, um, how can we inspire the next generation, especially those in cities, to care about growing food and saving seeds?
One of the big things that I did when I was in Phoenix and I've started doing here is I opened my farm,
Mhm.
my food forest up for people to come in and see. We do tours. In fact, I still work in Phoenix, Arizona, and we were doing a tour this past weekend at a friend of mine's farm in Phoenix. And that inspires everybody. We'll have dozens to hundreds of people come and see a food forest in action. So that's one way of inspiring. You specifically mentioned inspiring the younger generation. And one of the things that I love to do, especially with young kids in grade school and high school, is bring them onto my farm and actually
Mhm.
harvest things that I hand to them to eat. Pick a carrot right out of the ground or berries, um, a carrot, and just pull that right there and hand it to them and let them eat it. It's That's magical. I've had parents come to me and say, my kids wouldn't eat such and such broccoli until they harvested it out of our garden. And once they grow it and harvest it, they're going to eat it. So I think a big piece of inspiring future generations is actually get them experiencing it.
Absolutely. Beautifully put, Greg. Beautifully. I think
Thank
it's
you.
sense of that feeling of attachment, and that yes, I have harvested this, this is the I planted this seed and I'm getting this beautiful result, which I'm physically and emotionally cherishing. I think that
Of course.
is more than enough to inspire, especially the younger generation.
Nice.
Lovely, lovely, Greg. So, if our listeners would like to get in touch with you and get to explore your work at urbanfarm.org and then greatamericanseedup.org, how they can do that?
Um, well, my podcast is the Urban Farm Podcast, so you can always catch up with me on any platform there. You can send me an email at greg@urbanfarm.org. We're on Instagram at Urban Farm U and Facebook at The Urban Farm.
I'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes. And Greg, thank you. Thank you so much for reminding us that the most powerful revolution might just begin in our own backyards. And
Right.
you have really taught us that growing food isn't just about sustainability, it's about reclaiming agency, restoring connection, and also building a future which is rooted in abundance, not scarcity. So, thank
Amen to that. And you can also find at seedupinabox.com, you can actually get yourself a bundle of seeds. And so check that out as well.
absolutely. I'll have that as well in the show notes. And to everyone listening, maybe today is the day you plant that herb pot on your windowsill. Maybe it's the day today you look up local seed swaps or simply ask, where did this food come from? So, Greg's work at urbanfarm.org and his podcast and all the resources, beautiful resources he's sharing, just refer to the show notes along with this episode. Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and remember that the most mindful living starts with what we choose to grow inside and out as well. Thank you.